right, we ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to What Sisters Grow, episode 2. And this week we're going to attempt to use less ums, so's, and likes because I physically cannot edit another episode and review 800 instances of so, and like.
We had no idea how bad our vocabulary was.
So
Had no
bad.
idea. Yeah,
So it
so
really,
bad.
really rough, man. Really rough out there. And I saw our parents this weekend. They came to my house to have lunch and take some of our wedding stuff back to their place. And I did tell the story about it. And our dad I told him, I looked at him and I said, be nice when I tell this story. And he actually at one point had to cover his face because our lack of ability to control our facial expressions is in fact genetic. And so while I'm telling the story about having to edit all these instances of filler words, he just was trying so hard not to laugh because he hated like talking to us as teenagers because we would use the word like so much.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so there you go.
It's just going to be a running joke now.
It is. It's going to be a running joke, and we're just gonna have to roll with it. This is why they created editing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying not to say uppers. I'm trying so hard.
You're doing a good job. Now we're self-conscious about it, right? So now it's one more thing for me to add to my list of things that make me self-conscious.
Right? That list wasn't already long enough. So I do want to start by thanking everybody for their feedback. We had a lot of really great feedback, which was super fun. People DM'd me. I said I was going to put up a post. I keep forgetting because I'm just having a very busy week. People just really had a lot of good things to say. They said they felt like they were in the room with us and it was just like a fun, chatty, casual conversation. How did the positive feedback make you feel, Bailey? As somebody who doesn't do content, this is like not your thing.
It's not my thing. No, I try to stay off the internet as much as humanly possible normally. Yeah, no, it's really good. I think there's such an interesting desire from people for things to be more approachable and honest, especially when you're doing something like gardening, whether it's flowers or vegetables or whatever. It's empowering, I think, in many ways, because you and I do have very casual dialogue most of the time. And I think that we're funny. Like, I laugh, but I don't know if other people think we're funny or if other people just find us annoying and outrageous. It's one or the other.
There's always going to be a few of those.
Oh, that's fine. No, the world still goes round. So, yeah, it's all good. But it's been fun. It's been really fun to kind of see everybody's reaction. So, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's really fun. Before we get started, I am just going to say today, as we're recording this episode, it's my 31st birthday.
How do you feel?
I was going to ask how you feel because every time I have a birthday, you say you feel old.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I had a very full morning of like chaos and hadn't actually considered that. So now here we are.
Tell me every
I know.
year, when you call me and wish me happy birthday, you go, I never feel old until your birthday.
Until you get old. I keep getting older, and I know that. I feel it every time I go to get out of bed in the morning. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But every time you get older, I reflect on my age, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. So, yeah, happy birthday, Brooke. We're so excited to be celebrating you today in a very low-key, casual way.
Low key. I need something low key after my wedding. And I turned 30 last year and bless my friends and family. They celebrated me so well last year. But I just told everybody, I was like, I need to chill. Like, I'm good. But I will say, I was reflecting on my 31st birthday this morning because I woke up with an immense amount of lower back pain because I slept wrong. Because that makes sense. And I was thinking about it and I was like, all of your 20s, there's this weird thing where people say, oh, you need to figure yourself out because then when you're 30, that's who you are and you're like cemented. What a load of shit. Like,
what a load of shit.
What a load of shit. I feel more confident at 31 than I ever did in my 20s, at any point
Yeah.
in my 20s.
Yeah.
I feel stronger at 31 than I did at any point in my 20s. I have a way more active lifestyle physically. Mentally, I'm so much stronger. Emotionally, I'm so much stronger. Spiritually, I'm so much stronger. So I don't know. I get so when people say that aging sucks or whatever, I'm like, no, no, no. These fine lines on my forehead that like only Botox would remove, that shows years of surprise at the world's bullshit. You know what I mean? It just like every time my eyebrows travel up my forehead because I say, what? It proves that I've survived some shit. And like,
Yeah.
listen, aging is a privilege denied to many. And
Dude.
me personally, I'm just getting better out here.
So that has been my motto, I think, for the last year, and with especially with some stuff that we've gone through personally. Aging is such a privilege. It is such a
Yeah.
privilege that so many don't get to enjoy, and so many don't get to enjoy from a place of vitality. I think it's important to celebrate you getting older, right? I think a lot of people get weird
100%.
about that, but to your point, I think you have to go through a lot of hard stuff in your 20s if you went to college or even if you didn't, just trying to figure out where you find your roots or where you want to live. You should never, in my opinion, stop trying to settle into whatever version of yourself there is,
Yeah.
because so many people get to later in life and they have circumstances. Somebody gets sick, somebody gets a divorce, they have kids, they don't have kids. There's so many different phases of life, and I know for me at least, I'm having to settle into like surrendering a little bit better to the season that you're going through. But I mean, back to you and thriving, and you're 31 and you're doing really well, and you just have to be grateful for everything you have. And I'm with you. I feel stronger now than I ever felt. I will say, my husband told me, because he's a few years older than me, he said after you turn 30 things just start falling apart. All of a
Falling apart.
sudden there's certain things that worked just fine that
Yeah.
don't work fine anymore, and they
Yeah.
can be things like your joints or your digestive system. All of a sudden I couldn't drink beer anymore one day. It was like, oh
Yeah.
nope, sorry, not for you, no more, sorry.
Oh, that
No
ice
more.
cold Corona you enjoyed? It was
Yeah.
your last.
Yeah. You didn't know it, but here we are. So it is funny. Things definitely start popping up a little bit more. Look, dude, settle into your 30s. I think it's a great
Settle
era.
in. Well, and
Yeah.
also I think we have really good examples of women in our life who like never stop learning. Our mom learned how to make sourdough last year and she's
Yeah.
really good at it. And our grandma, she learned how to quilt 5 or 6 years ago and she's 80. I
Yeah.
don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't know if she's going to listen to this and I don't want to get in trouble. She 83, 84.
She's turning 85 this year.
Oh, see, I underguessed, which was the right move. I did not overguess. I was gonna overguess, and then I was like, that's not right. But even
Marie.
like so her at 80 years old is learning how to quilt, which is this incredibly intricate
Yeah.
process. And so we've had good examples of women in our lives who just because they're aging doesn't mean they're gonna stop doing new things or trying new
No.
things or whatever. So, anyways, I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about that because I don't think that aging is positively spoken about enough.
Yeah.
And I hear people all the time, especially in gardening, where they're like, "Well, this is I'm doing it so late. Who the fuck cares? Who cares that you're
Yeah.
doing it later in life, whether you're like in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s? I mean,
Yeah.
who gives a shit? Just do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like gardening doesn't have an age requirement attached to it.
No.
So that's always weird to me. And it's okay to be 40 something and try something new and it not working, failing, and then
Dude.
cuz you learn and then you just try
Yeah.
again.
And I don't think there's enough. We could probably spend 5 hours talking about this, but there's
Yeah, we
also
could.
not enough. I don't know. There's not enough conversation around failing and failing gracefully and being okay
Yeah.
with that and just not being good at something. Like I
Yeah.
snowboarding.
You were really good at it until you
Until I
weren't all of
wasn't.
a sudden.
Until I wasn't, yeah. And so my husband and I wanted to start snow sports, right? And I will try to make this a short version of the story, but the short version is we live in a part of the country that gets snow and we're outdoorsy people. We enjoy being outside. And so we decided that we were going to, I think this was like 2019, 2018, we decided we were going to start skiing and snowboarding. So naturally, I wanted to snowboard. There's Look, for those of you that are skiers out there, I give you a lot of props because there's too many things. There's poles, there's skis, it's just too much stuff.
There's
And
like
everybody's
there's pizza, there's pie,
I can't.
there's too many
There's too many
things.
things. And so I learned to snowboard, which is definitely the harder of the two to learn, but the easier to master. Whereas if with skiing, it's very easy to learn, hard to master. It's a whole thing. However, I that was a very humbling experience for me because I am such a type A person who wants to be good at everything I try. But I spent the majority of the time with my ass in the snow. And there was one time specifically that I caught an edge and went flying across the slope and like knocked the wind out of me. My instructor came over because it was actually an all women snowboarding group, which was really fun. But this
So cool.
instructor like comes over, she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I just need to lay here for a second." So, it's
I need to be with myself really quick.
I need to feel the snow beneath me and know that I'm still on earth. So, so
We've all had those moments.
we have.
It's not funny because you actually question, you're like, am I okay? But
Yeah,
like
but
looking back, it's funny.
it's funny now because it was okay, but it was very humbling, and you have to still try. And look, I still go
Yes.
out there a couple of times a year. I still get my ass handed to me every time, but it's also okay to do things that you're not always really good at. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just That's so prohibitive, and it makes your world so tiny when you only do things that you know you're good at. That's just
Yeah.
my opinion. We also all go through times in our lives where we don't have the capacity to try something new and fail at
Totally.
stuff because we've got too
Yeah.
much other shit going on. That's good too. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually talked about that on it was a YouTube live stream with Texas Garden Guy and one of the other guys, Phil of Earth Nails and Tails. Earth, yes, Earth Nails and Tails. One of the guys said something about earth snails and tails, and now I can't get that out of my head. I never thought of
Yeah.
it before that. And anyways, so we were kind of talking, we were talking about soil blocking, and I was like, I just haven't been in the season the last couple of years to try something new. Like I just
Yeah.
don't I
Yeah.
just need to do what works, because I
Yeah.
just need an ace in the hole. And that's okay too. But it's even one of my best friends is a doctor, and we were talking about gardening because they've gardened before, but they just moved. And I said to her, I said, I never thought about how this is probably a very low stakes activity for you. Like it's
Mm.
okay if you fail here. When you're like a
Mhm.
doctor,
Yeah.
stakes are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Like you make a decision or you do or say something and the stakes are so much higher. And so balancing that with a lower stakes activity,
Mm.
gardening, where it's okay if something fails. I don't know. I just think people don't start because they're pre-scared of failing. And it's okay if you
Yeah.
fail. Anyways,
Yeah.
we've gotten so off topic, but this was a good intro.
Good way to start. Happy birthday,
Yeah.
Brooke.
Happy birthday. You age gracefully. Appreciate the fine lines that have appeared.
Yeah.
It means you've lived a lot of life. I actually,
Yeah.
in we'll end with this and then we need to move on. In one of my wedding vows to my husband, been together for 6.5 years. And one of my wedding vows was that the lines around my eyes have deepened from smiling so much over the last 6.5 years, and that my wish for our future is that they continue to deepen to show a lifetime of laughs and love.
Aw.
And I know. I had a zinger in our wedding vows that when I wrote it, I was like, everybody's gonna cry. I'm not gonna repeat it here because that's a private moment, but I knew it when I wrote it. But yeah, I just think like aging is such a privilege, and I just wanted to talk about that. So, you ready to get into it?
Yep. Here we
All
go.
right. So we're gonna start with what's growing on. So what's growing on, Bailey? What's growing on with your plants? You did some
Yes.
cool shit this week.
I did. I know. Okay. So, as far as the seedlings go, we've got some thrivers.
Okay.
Gomphrena is popping off. The
Salvia, yeah.
salvia also doing really well. Delphiniums haven't popped through yet. I think me and the tall plants, I think we're gonna have a beef because my
Oh,
snapdragons are also not doing great.
I love that you made that correlation. It's like me and the tall plants. We're not really speaking the same language.
Trying to identify trends, right? As a new
Yeah.
gardener, I'm learning a lot about the things that are and are not working. So the
Right.
lavender's doing okay. I think I'm at a point where I need to do some more research because I did see something the other day about how like you do need to remove the heat mat for lavender at some point because they don't love
Oh,
being too warm. So this is where your expertise is not helpful because you
I can't
told
help
me
you.
you're on your own.
You're on your own.
So that might be a new thing. But yeah, and the celosia also doing super well. So I'm really excited about
Nice.
that. I got the rest of my pansy seeds in the mail today. So
Fancy,
I will be,
fancy pansies.
I know, I'm so excited. I'm going to do a whole tray. I'm going to do a whole tray. Oh, like a whole
Oh.
72 cell situation. We're going to see how this goes.
You go, girl. You dive in face first.
I know.
The pool is deep. Don't worry.
I know. Yeah. So excited about the pansies. So that's from a growing perspective, that's where we are. As far as the cool shit. So on Friday, took a mental health day. Highly recommended for anybody who like feels that they need one. Go ahead and take one, please. I'm
Round of
telling you.
applause. Round of
Dude.
applause.
So anyways, took a mental health day and drove out to a place that is in central Ohio called Groovy Plant Ranch.
Shout them out, dude. We are going there. When I come visit in
I
May, we
know.
are going there. It looks so
I know.
cool.
Well, so I had an acquaintance. So I had this wonderful greenhouse garden center when I was living up in Cleveland.
Yeah,
Don't
that
live
place
there
was cool.
anymore. Oh, it was so good. And we loved going there. And I found some really good nurseries here in central Ohio, but nothing like crazy. I had an acquaintance that told me about Groovy Plant Ranch, and they're like, this is totally up your alley. This is going to be a place. So I went online. First of all, the owners look dope. They're so cool. The gentleman who owns it, he like collects exotic plants and succulents, which I think is
Oh,
super
hell
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super cool. And their property is beautiful. With all that being said, they do plant events. So last Friday through Sunday, they had what's called Peony Palooza, where they had grown over 3,000 varieties of different peonies. And I was
So
like,
cool.
I have to go. Right? I gotta go. I gotta
You
go.
told me you told me about it, and I was like, "We'll find room." I
Right.
was
I
like,
will.
"Don't-
So
we will find the space.
yeah.
Just
So I
go."
yeah, I went. I took my coffee with me and drove however long to get there. And it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in a
Yeah.
place called Marengo. But Brooke, there are blue attraction signs for this place on the highway. Yeah.
We're
So I
so
pull
going.
in, it's a dirt lot. They've got this sick coffee truck, local coffee roaster truck that's sitting outside. They've got a ton of greenhouses. It's the coolest place. They've got
Yeah.
old cars that they've painted with succulents all over them. They've got an old
What?
little airplane. Yeah, it's so cool. So
God.
I was, and I walk into the greenhouse and it says, "Welcome to Peony Palooza." And I said in my head, "Thank you for having me." So I walk
Thank
in.
you. I'm so happy to be here.
There's just it's a whole greenhouse of peony plants, and that's when
Oh my
the
God.
overstimulation was instant.
Well, and I was also
Instant.
texting you. I was like so
Yes.
far up your ass about it. I was like, I think I wasn't feeling very good that day, or I was having a bad day, or I don't remember
Yeah.
what was going on. And I was like, send me everything. I was like, send me pictures.
Yeah.
Tell me what's happening. I need to know.
Yeah.
It
Well, I
looked
posted
so cool.
it looks so cool, and I posted something on my Instagram page, like a reel or whatever, because I need other people to know about this place. I mean, it's just so wild. And I actually had one of my husband's cousins, Shauna, if you're listening to this, you're great. I love you.
Hi, Shauna.
Hi, Shauna. She literally texted me and said, "Is that Groovy Plant Ranch?" She knew it, and she lives like up near Pennsylvania, like in the Cleveland,
And
Pennsylvania
she
area.
knew.
She knew about it. So, anyways, long story
Oh my
short,
God.
I walk in. There's just like hundreds of thousands of peony plants. And of course, I'm texting you pictures of all the little signs of this one and that one and all of these things. I'm like, I don't know which one to get. Do I get one? Do I get one at all? I've already ordered peony tubers. What am I supposed to do? And
yes, you get one is the
well,
answer.
so you and I collaborated on which one we should get and which one was coolest. I ended up with one called Border Charm.
So
Super
cool.
cool. It's really
So
cool. It's
cool.
like a pretty little beige color. But the other thing they had was ranunculus that were just
Gorgeous.
huge
Yeah.
tables of red and pink and yellow and white.
Beautiful
Anyways,
plants.
yes. That's what happens when you're expressive with your hands. You start moving stuff around that you shouldn't.
Did you just knock your microphone?
I did. Did you see that? It was like, anyways, Groovy Plant Ranch. If you ever come to Central Ohio, or even if you just want some inspiration, go online. It's so cool. They have another event in a couple weeks all about irises. I think I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know it's so
yes,
good.
you will be going. Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No. And the people that worked there were so nice. One of the women who was helping me talked to me because the other thing they had a huge table of herbs, all kinds. And she told me over the summer, she said it's insane how many herbs. And they grow like she said they grow 5 or 7 different kinds of mint leaves.
Yes. Yes.
Chocolate mint leaves.
Chocolate mint, orange mint, lemon
Raspberry.
mint,
Yeah.
raspberry mint.
Yeah.
It's wild the amount of that you can grow.
Yeah, so we're going to do that when you're here in May. Super excited about that. And the other place I went to is another place in Central Ohio. It's a local flower farm. They do a lot of dried florals, but also these beautiful bouquets. And what's funny about that is our local grocery store, Brooke had mentioned this, I think, in our prior episode. I love fresh flowers. So I was buying a lot of fresh flowers at the grocery store, wherever I could kind of find them for, not really crazy. Our local grocery store actually sells this Flower Farms flowers. And so last year I would strictly only buy what they had because it's all local. I recently found out where they were located and I drove out there on Friday as well and picked up like a bouquet of tulips that was beautiful. They had a dried wreath that I was super excited about that's on my front door now. So yeah.
You had the dreamiest plant day.
I know.
Like the dreamiest mental day. I'm just so jealous.
One more thing.
It was so fun.
It was so fun. But one more thing. I also found the Zubru very interesting.
Yes. Oh my God. We were going to talk about this. So it's called Zubrew, like Zoobrew. Zubrew.
Yep.
Are you going to explain it or you want me to?
I don't think I'm educated enough. This was my extent of education. I was standing there with the peony and the woman looked at me and said, and I was buying the peony as well as a few other things because you never go to the plant store for just one thing ever. I intended on going for 0 things, just wanted to go and check it out. And I left with way more than 0.
Didn't work out for you.
No. So the woman, I'm standing there with the peony plant and she goes, do you have compost at home? And I said, oh no, but I'll get some. And she goes, okay. She said, we really recommend this Zubru that we sell. Now, normally when I'm at a plant store and they're trying to sell you on whatever it is that they have there, I'm kind of like, nah, I'm good. Like, whatever. I'll just use the things that I know work. And she said, no, this one's specifically formulated and it's local. And she was not super descriptive about what it was, other than it's called Zubru. And what's funny about that is the mascot of this Zubru is a unicorn, which will make a lot more sense when Brooke explains to you what it is. So I didn't know how to say no to her. I said, okay. She said, it's specifically designed. It's really good for the peony bushes. I'd highly recommend you going ahead and getting a bag. I said, okay,
cool.
Yeah, fine, whatever. And so then I called Brooke later that day, or maybe it was the next day, and I said, hey, so they had this compost called Zubru. And she goes, no shit. So that's where you come in. So you can educate the people.
Literally, there were these dusty files in the back of my brain, and all of a sudden, when you said it, it was one of them got plucked out and was like, yes.
Yeah.
So for context, I used to work at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. When I went to Ohio State, it's a very long story that nobody really needs to hear, but I worked at the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium, and it was a great job. I had a lot of fun, and Zubrew is composted exotic animal manure from the Columbus Zoo, which is really cool. And so I remember hearing about this program when I worked at the zoo. I didn't work with the animals directly that had the manure saved, I guess. So I don't really remember the schematics of how it all worked, but I remember Zubrew being a really popular program locally that was really sustainable and all that good stuff, because Columbus is the biggest city in central Ohio and one of the biggest cities that's very progressive with sustainability and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just funny when she said that. She was like, "Do you know what Zoo Brew is?" And they're just like in the cobwebs of my brain from 13 years ago. I just had this memory and I was like, "Wait, I do know what the fuck that is actually." So, yeah, I know other zoos have programs like that. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of a thing. And they'll partner with a local composting company, and I mean it's really good. It's good shit. It's it's really good shit. I don't know what to tell you.
Yes.
So that's what's growing on with Bailey. What's growing on with Brooke? That's a loaded question. I decided this last week. My professional life has picked up a lot, and I've been really busy, which is fine. But I have not had the energy that I normally have for the spring garden. And I started a lot of plants. Now they got to go in the ground. They got to go somewhere. And
That is how it
so
works.
yeah, and like normally I would plant out all my tomatoes, go through and plant out all my peppers, go through and like direct sow all my veggies, and then direct sow all my flowers. Like I have a process that I have
Hmm.
followed for years. And this year I just decided I needed to pivot. This year I decided that I was like, this clearly isn't working because I'm not doing it.
Hmm.
My seedlings look like they're struggling because they are,
Hmm.
and they need to go in the ground. And so I decided I was going to go one bed at a time. I was going to complete one bed at a time. I was going to weed, plant, direct sow, mulch, and we were going to get this shit done from start to finish. And so that's what I worked on this week. And it's almost done. I'm very close to being done. I direct sowed my cucumbers and some sunflowers yesterday, and I did have to break out my power planter, my auger. Y'all, if you don't have an auger, you need one. I'm probably gonna gift you one, Bailey.
I don't have
Um,
one.
we will need one based on how much we're planting. You get a little drill
Yeah.
and you attach the auger, and man, you can just like boom, 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 boom. And it's so much easier. It's so much easier on your back. It's so much easier on everything. So that's what's growing on in my garden. I have all of my roses planted. It's official.
Yay!
Every single one of them is planted, which is very exciting. So everything's going really well. Like all my grapevines are waking up, which is fun. All the trees are waking up. I do think I might have killed my mandarin orange trees. They were supposed to be cold hardy. I don't think they were,
Oh.
or not cold hardy enough. I covered them. Like I did everything I could, you
Hmm.
know. But this weekend is the Oak Hill Plant Fest that I am part of at the Veterans for Foreign Wars post in Oak Hill in Austin. And Texas Garden Guy, when we were on a podcast together a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about figs. He said he was going to bring me a fig. I think I might have, I now have two spots where two things died. And I think I'm going to replace one of them with that fig. And then the other one of my really good friends texted me the other day because she went to my favorite garden center in Austin. And she goes, "Hey, I heard birthday gifts don't count against the fruit tree quota." And I said, "Oh, is that? I think you made that up, but I'm okay with it, you know?" She was like, "So if I were to get you a gift,
Yeah.
what would it be?" And there are some apples that you can grow in Texas.
Oh,
Yeah. And so
I
I was
wouldn't
like,
have
you know
thought
what?
that.
Yeah, me either. But I have heard it quite a few times at the
Hmm.
Natural Gardener, which is my favorite garden center in Austin. I go to all of them, but I just like that one the most. They really only carry like varieties that are hardy to Texas. Like it's not one of
Hmm.
those. And if they're not hardy to Texas, it'll say on the label, keep in a pot.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they have like apples and pears. I didn't know you could grow
Mm.
pears here. Yeah, and those are both like more cold tolerant. So they
Mm.
can handle the cold temperatures that we get in the summer because despite being zone 9A,
Hmm.
it still gets cold here.
Yeah.
So that's the fucked up part about zones. Like you'll look at a tag and it'll be like avocados, no problem. Citrus, go for it. And it's no. We still get legit winter here,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? So anyways, so that's what's growing on in my garden. I am completely over having anything in seed starting mode. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm I'm over it. I'm done caring for seedlings. I think I'll probably get a few more plants at the plant swap this weekend.
Mm.
And then I'll probably still acquire a few more plants that I'll have to find spots for, but I'm not too worried about it. My onions and my garlic are coming alive, man. I've been giving
Okay.
them fish fertilizer,
Yes. Yeah.
which is gross, by the way. Do you know what it is?
I don't. I was highly entertained by the reel and the grunting that the short person.
So gross. Oh, when I was trying to get it off the shelf? Yeah, it was so high, and there was nothing to climb on.
What
Like
did
usually
you
I
say?
look for something to climb on. Damn, they don't make
It's
this short people friendly.
yeah, no, you said it's out of short people range.
Yes, it was. It was out of short people range. How am I short people garden too?
You're like, I'm like seeing Debbie with her hand like through the grate. You know what I mean? I'm just like envisioning you like, and especially with the phone in your hand, like trying to do it like this. I'm
Well,
just
and
like
I was at
wild.
Lowe's on a Sunday, so it was really
Oh,
busy. So I was trying
yeah.
to be really nondescript. So if you notice, a lot of the like camera angles are down here.
Here's the thing. Even if you were to be there out there with a ring light, you are still not the most feral person in Lowe's on a Sunday in the spring.
No.
Not even close. Not even close.
Thank you for that. I needed that validation because let me tell you, there are some feral people at
Whew.
Lowe's in the spring. I This poor woman, she had three little kids with her. This She was loading potting soil onto a thing, and these little kids, bless their little hearts, were trying to help her. And
Yeah.
she was not a real sturdy lady. And so she was not lifting these bags of potting soil. She was slanging them. She was used to she was you know the difference though. She was not lifting. She was using her leverage of her body weight and slanging them. And I swear she almost took out one of these kids because they were trying to help her because she's obviously struggling.
Right.
And she almost took one of these little kids out by the neck. She almost clotheslined this child with a bag of potting soil and would he I mean, thank God he moved, but I was watching the whole thing and I was like, do I ask if she needs help or is that making it worse?
Yeah, I don't
Like
know at that point.
I don't know at that point. I didn't offer to help because thank God she was done. I think after she almost took the kid out, she realized that she had enough potting soil for whatever she needed. She needed to be done slanging the bags of potting soil. And I'm like, man, I hope your significant other is not just sitting at home eating bonbons while you're out here lifting 40-pound bags of potting soil with three little
Yeah.
kids. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So,
That's a
anyways,
lot.
that was a total rogue story. But thank you. I am not the most feral person at Lowe's on a Sunday in the spring. Maybe in the summer, but not in the spring.
No,
So,
definitely not. Definitely not.
all right. I think that covers what's growing on. What's the best thing you learned this week, Bailey?
So I think, and I'd be interested if your viewership has any comments on this, but I think I read a couple things about peony. So now that I have the peony bush, so I kind of had to expedite. I was like, oh, I've got so much time because I understand like tubers going in the ground, how to care for them, blah, 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 blah. But once it becomes like a bush, right, you have to
Yeah.
care for it maybe a little differently than when it's just in the ground. So I did read that really peonies are actually better planted in the fall and the winter because they go like a little dormant. And
So it's really great that it's March.
well, right, exactly. But see, I'm having some conflicting information about that because everything else I've read is peony tubers should be taken out in the late fall of the ground,
Oh, and like
stored and then replanted. So I'm not sure if that is just certain kinds of peonies or if it's depending on your zone. I
You
have to
need
do
to
some more
call.
research.
Yeah, you need to call Groovy Plant Ranch. That was
I
so
did.
that was. Oh, you did. What did they say?
I did. They said wait 2 or 3 weeks and then you can put it in the ground. So you and I talked. They're having Peony Palooza in the spring. You should be able. That's probably the best time to plant them. But I need to do
Yeah.
some more research for our zone does it get too cold over the winter?
Sure, to
We
have
need to
them
pull
in
the
the
tubers
ground.
out, right? Versus your zone, let's just pretend like you can grow peonies. I know that you cannot. In the warmer zone, maybe you can
Yep.
leave them in the ground and they use the cold from the winter to build
To
up their
like
energy. So they,
recharge. Yeah.
yes. The other thing I read about the peony is you really shouldn't harvest much from it in its first 2 to 3 years.
Oh no, that's sad.
It sort of broke my heart. If anybody has a different opinion, I'm open to being wrong on that, but I don't think I am based on where the
I'm
information came
very
from.
open to being wrong.
I'm very open to being wrong on that. I was like, oh, I gotta look at them and not cut them and put them in my house. That's sad. That kind of
I
made me sad.
I think it's a little similar with roses, if I'm being honest. Because
Yeah.
you have to deadhead them, right? You want to deadhead them so that they
Yeah.
keep producing blooms. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to severely cut them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing, I think I've learned the hard way. Cone flowers.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I told you last week I didn't think it was going to go well. And it's
Yeah.
because I ignored the part about doing cold moist stratification. And I think I'm paying for it because those little seedlings look so sad. They're either like not coming through or they look like these little things with these two little leaves and they're just like they're very sad. So,
I will say, when I've grown coneflowers, they're very slow.
I mean, sister, I planted those 4 weeks
Weeks ago.
ago.
So long ago.
So, I haven't entirely given up hope, but I don't know.
Those are easy to buy at nurseries, though.
I know, but that's not the point.
I know. Well, and it's not the right color because you got
It's
the,
not,
wasn't it
no.
white swan?
Right, exactly. And they
Yeah.
specifically said, so the purple ones,
You don't love the purple ones.
the purple ones are fine. My understanding though is the purple ones you don't have to do the cold moist stratification. You could even, I think, direct sow those or start them from seed.
It's just the white ones.
It's just the white ones. So,
How lucky
anyways,
for you.
I know, but those are some of my learnings from the week. I'm like expediting my peony because it even has a bloom on it, like a little tight. So I'm like, don't die, please.
Don't die!
I know.
It's like, you're like, oh God, wait, I made a decision and now I have to figure
Yeah.
out what the hell
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Well, especially in our zone, like it's sunny right now, but it's still getting down into freezing at night. So I have to like put the thing outside in the sun, bring it back in. We're having to do that whole thing, and I'm willing to do it as long as nothing dies. So I'm good, but it had to expedite my learning a little bit. It'll get on the train a little faster than I intended, which is cool. It's fine, but it is what it is. So,
There you go. Hey, you're down for the ride. That's what's important.
amen. Yeah.
The best thing that I learned this week, this was a fun part of doing all my planting, even though I wasn't really excited about doing it. There are so many earthworms in my soil. So I've been
Oh.
developing this soil this will be the third season of this garden. And so I've been working this soil for years. Compost, mulch, all the good stuff, mostly organic. I don't really use anything that's not organic. And so many earthworms. So I don't want to say it's the best thing I learned. I guess it's the best thing that I've proven
Mm.
is that if you take
Yeah.
care of your soil will take care of you. So for years, I've been doing this with my soil, and the amount of worms and just fungal life and all this just good stuff. I was feeling very validated when I was like
Yeah.
putting my plants in the ground. I was like, yeah,
It's rewarding.
it's so rewarding. So I
Yeah.
don't think I have not learned that much because, like I said, my professional life has been very busy and my personal life has been very busy. So I have been back to our conversation about some seasons you just need to not learn new stuff.
Yeah. Totally.
That's
Yep.
where I'm at personally. But honestly, I think I'm going to be learning a lot this weekend at the Plant Fest because there's just
Ooh.
going to be so many people. Talking to people, other gardeners is the best way to learn stuff. Like it is
Yeah.
because people do things differently. They figure different things out, right? That's the best way to learn things, which is how I started at the community garden.
Yep.
Was all these elder gardeners who taught me so many things. Even this is a little messed up, but we're going to talk about it for a second. So Texas is fire ants because Texas is the Australia of the United States. There are so many things here that'll try to kill you. It's crazy. Fire ants. I actually have a reel that's going to go out this week about it because people were like, you should walk outside barefoot and connect with the earth.
I do that, but I live in a not crazy part of the country where there's not insects and snakes everywhere. Like I would not do that
Yes.
in Texas. No. No.
Yes, we
You
have
need boots on.
boots. Boots that you shook out, by the way, that you
Yeah.
made sure there was nothing hiding in.
Yep.
Like, I
Yep.
don't, people are crazy. So, this elder gardener, he tells me, he goes, "You want to know the best way to get rid of a fire ant pile?" And I'm like, "No, tell me." This guy's got to be in his 70s or 80s. He is a elder, okay? He goes, "You find another fire ant pile and you take a shovel and you put part of each fire ant pile on each other to create a fire ant war, and they'll kill each other." He was so matter of fact about it.
That's some dark shit.
That's some dark shit. We tried it and it worked. Isn't that fucked up?
This feels like Mad Max Fire Ant Edition.
It, it is. This is Mad Max Fire Ant Edition. We literally started a world war of fire ants on purpose, and it worked. And I have a witness to this, by the way. My friend Kendall was part of the community garden at this time. She was here for this. And I think she's too good hearted of a person to have participated. It was me
Yeah.
who did the thing,
Yeah.
but she was a witness. This actually happened. So there you go. That's the best thing. I don't know if that's the best thing I learned, but
It's something you learned. It was a useful thing that you learned.
yeah. So if you have multiple fire ant hills, that's a good way to get rid of them.
How fascinating.
Bailey's face is like, I don't know
Look,
how I feel about knowing this information.
no, I mean, it's not applicable to me, but for some people, we had them when we lived in Phoenix, and when you step on one, it's not fun. It's not,
Hurts.
yeah, it does. It does. So I'm happy that you found a successful eradication method. Yeah.
All right, are you ready for some no dumb questions?
I love no dumb questions. These are my favorite.
So I asked my Instagram for some no dumb questions. These were not ones that I farmed from my comments. These were actually no dumb questions that people asked. BPots811 asked, "Do you plan out your garden beds or just know you want to plant XYZ and put it in the dirt?" I think this is a good one because we're in spring. This is when people are planting out their garden beds. The way that I approach this is have a plan, but plan on the plan changing.
Ooh, wow. How profound. Wow, how
Yes.
profound.
So,
Wow.
what I mean by that is I do always have a plan. I talked last week about the Epic Garden Planning garden software. I definitely didn't say that, but we all know what I mean. And I will literally this many tomato plants based on this much square footage. I need a plan of action, right? But then sometimes I get out in the garden and I'm like, I don't really know if I want that there. Or I'll be like, oh, I actually have more space than I thought.
Hmm.
So I'm going to put a zucchini seed here. Or for my spicy peppers, because I divided my peppers spicy and sweet this year. And
Mm.
so for like my spicy pepper bed, I was like, you know what? These kind of grow really big and bushy, and the peppers are smaller. So they need a little more space in my
Mhm.
experience. So I'm going to
Mhm.
put less plants in here. So I
Mhm.
like to have a plan, but then once I go in, I'm kind of like, okay, I need to use my native knowledge
Mhm.
to like make decisions. Then I got a little OCD about it. But because we have the arbor now, you're not going to see climbing roses on that thing for a couple of years. So I have like motif of colors. So it's very sunset vibes, pinks
Mhm.
and oranges, reds, and it's really nice. But I started on one side and then I was like, shit, now I have to repeat the pattern on the other side. So it's Rubenza Cosmos, and then there's another flower, and so it goes in the same pattern, but when you look at it, it'll go out. And it's probably not going to freaking matter. It's just going to be one of those things that I look at every morning and I go, that's satisfying.
I like the way that looks.
Yeah, nobody's going to notice but me, but
Right.
it's going to
That's the
itch
only
the
person that matters.
yeah, but it's gonna itch the scratch in my brain.
Yeah.
So yes, I do. In answer to the question, I do plan my gardens very meticulously. And Bailey, I think you would say the same for you.
Yeah, 100%. I like your theory though about you plan, but you also
Yes.
plan to do things differently effectively because
Yeah.
Even when I was going through, and I think we told this story already at the last episode, but even when I was going through, at some point I was like, there's too many hard things. So I had to scale
Yes.
back and do some easier things that I knew would get me a decent
Yeah.
success rate. So while we had a plan, I got to a point and I said, nope, we're not going to do this. And so we had to pivot a little bit. And you know what? I think it just goes back to learning, you know what I mean? And failing and it being okay that the plan changes. It's all good.
It's okay that the plan changes, but also I'm just somebody who has to have a plan in the first place. Like I
Yeah.
need I need a roadmap, and if we gotta take a detour, I'm okay with it. But
Yeah.
like I need a roadmap of where's the car going.
Yeah, for sure.
The people who don't, I love that journey for your soul.
Yeah.
If that's what
Yeah.
feels good in your
Yeah.
heart, I am happy for you.
I like it.
Not for me. It's not for me. Okay, so the Wandering Planter says, I'm in zone 10A. What are some tips for keeping tomato plants productive during the summer heat? This is a very short answer. The answer is if you're in 10A, you should give up on tomatoes in the summer. There's no point. I'm just going to be honest with you. So there's kind of two ways that people do this. You either hobble them along and just know that they're going to struggle, but you're not going to get any tomatoes because the blossoms will fall off after it starts hitting like 95. Like the blossoms are just going to be like, too hot, and they're just going to fall off. So some people will keep that plant alive through the summer heat, and then once the temperatures start going down, it'll start blooming and you get tomatoes again. Not my favorite method because I do not like the flavor of a fall tomato. It's not the same. It's not the same as when it ripens in the heat than when it ripens when it's not hot. So that's not my favorite thing to do. The other thing that people do is they will actually plant more tomato transplants in July, and then you grow them up, get them to a nice big place, and then they'll start blossoming, and then you'll get your ripe tomatoes. For me, that results in the same thing, which is a fall ripened tomato, which is not my jam. The texture and the flavor isn't the same, and I just don't like it as much. So I don't do either of those things. I just give up on tomatoes completely, unless they're sauce tomatoes. I'll do fall sauce tomatoes to make tomato sauce, but I won't do fresh eating tomatoes. So that's the short answer to that question. All right. Should we answer the question, how do I keep squirrels from getting into my garden?
Yes.
Oh.
What's so funny about this? Do you think that the person knew when they asked this question? Do you think that they knew about the Squirrel Wars videos
Of 2021? I doubt
of
it.
2021? I mean, look,
I doubt it.
if you would like some cheap entertainment, you should go to Brooke's YouTube channel and go to Squirrel Wars.
Do you know what's my most viewed video on YouTube?
What a wild time. What a wild time for everybody. The daily calls I used to get about Squirrel Wars. Brooke, you've had a lot of success, and in the most humane way possible, how do you manage squirrels?
Listen, my preferred method is not humane. I'm going to be real honest with you. Um, if I lived out in the country, the method I would use is quick, but it's not humane. And it involves a little target practice. So I hate squirrels with a deep passion in my soul. They are the worst ever.
So much so that nephew Cooper is trained to chase them out of the yard.
Oh yeah, he knows. Oh, he's not in here. He knows the word squirrel.
He knows.
If
he
you
knows
say
S
the word squirrel, he will run to the back door. He's only ever killed one. And he was really upset about it. His instincts came out, and it was him and Lana. And this was a few years ago when they were much younger. I don't think they could do this now. But I shouldn't tell the whole story. Moral of the story, after the squirrel was dead, and he realized the squirrel was dead, he was very upset, and he looked at me like, what did I do? And then we removed said squirrel, but then he kept going back to the spot. And he kept looking at me and looking around. It was the saddest thing.
This is where I committed the homicide.
It's the scene of the crime. So he's now taught Indy to look for squirrels. Yes. So it's just, but Indy's not cute.
Indy's got no shot. He's got no
He's
shot.
got
Those
no
little
shot.
legs.
He
He's
is
got no
the
shot.
least athletic dog we have. Cooper at 10 years old can outrun Indy at a year and a
Yeah.
half because
Yeah.
Indy is not meant for speed. But when he runs, you can see in his eyes, I am speed. And you're like, no, you're not. Anyways, I'm going to tell you how to keep the squirrels away. If you want to keep them out of your beds, cayenne pepper is the best thing to use. You can get a 5 pound bottle of cayenne pepper on Amazon. That's how much I know about this. So, cayenne pepper, they don't like the smell. So, they will stay away from anything that has cayenne pepper. If you're doing this, only put it on the dirt. Do not put it on the leaves of your plants. Ask me how I know. Because I did the dumb. I did the dumb so you don't have to. So that'll stop them from digging, okay? And generally getting around your plants. Now, squirrels, they're called tree rats for a reason. They will find a way. If there's a will, there's a way, okay? If your neighborhood has fences, we call them squirrel highways because that's exactly what they use them for. They're highways for the squirrels, okay? So, how do you stop a police chase, Bailey, in the movies? You know, when like
Um,
the police cars will go out. What are they doing?
they put the spikes down.
They put the spikes down. So how do you stop a squirrel on the squirrel highway? You use bird spikes. So
Oh.
you can bird spikes on Amazon that you screw into your fence,
Mm.
and they hate that shit. So they'll still run on it sometimes, but they really avoid it. So bird spikes work really, really well. None of those sprays that they sell at the garden center that's like a squirrel deterrent, none of that shit works. Don't buy it. It's just a waste of your money. The other thing that I've had work is a fake owl, but you have to move it every couple days. And you got to get the one, it's in my Amazon store, that makes sounds and is motion activated and it moves its head. The only problem is it's kind of loud, but it does work. So those are probably the top 3 humane methods. If you would like a not humane method that doesn't involve a weapon, there is a stun trap that's about $200 that I did buy. It's not poison. It kills them humanely. We've never had it work on a squirrel, but it will work on rats. And mice. So if anybody wants information, just DM me and we can talk about it because I don't know how much publicly I should really discuss all of the ways that I know how to kill small animals. That feels like I'm going to get put on a list.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Like the ASPCA is going to come for you.
Oh, I'm not scared of them.
The next time they play that heartbreaking music,
Sarah McLachlan song. It's just me.
Your photo's just going to show up.
They're like, have you seen this woman? She has declared war against the squirrels. So the other thing that I will say about squirrels that people will say works is feed them. I am vehemently against this. People are like, just feed them and they won't eat your shit. I hate this. I hate this for a variety of reasons, and I don't really support it. But it does work, unfortunately. We have a hawk that will sometimes eat our squirrels.
Oh.
And it makes me really happy when I see that one has gotten caught. I go, yeah, good job. So those are all of our no dumb questions for this week. I got a little feral fast. Bailey, what's the most feral thing that happened to you this week?
So this week was not something that happened to me as much as something I created. Something I did to somebody else.
Oh, no.
Well, it's not that bad.
I'm so scared.
Yeah, it's fine. As I mentioned in our prior episode, we moved into a house that needs a lot of work. So we're starting from scratch as far as the garden bed, the fresh cut flower garden bed is concerned in the backyard. We know what the dimensions are going to be. We just have to map it out. But in that space, the prior people that lived here, for whatever reason, installed like a 10-foot tall pull-up bar.
So weird.
I mean, these poles.
Truly so bizarre.
My husband is 6 feet tall, and this thing stands like if he jumps, he can barely touch it.
Yeah.
I'm just confused. I don't know who was living here before, like an NBA star. I have absolutely no idea, but it's insane. And there was the tape where they were putting their hands. I don't know if they had a jump box. I have no idea.
So
So,
weird.
moral of the story is my husband had appointments on Saturday morning. I was left to my own devices at home, which is
Oh
normally
no.
how these things start. And I had come home from the grocery store running errands, and I didn't want to pick up a paintbrush and keep painting. So what do? I find a different project. What do I decide? We're going to pull out the pull-up bar that day.
Today.
Today, this afternoon. So the pull-up bar is, they've got these like 10-foot tall poles with this stupid metal bar across the top. And the pull-up bars are concreted into the ground.
Oh my God.
And so I'm just like, I'm just gonna start digging and see what I find. See how this goes.
Yeah.
And hopefully not hit any cable lines or water lines or anything else while I'm
Gas
here by
lines.
myself. Yeah. So I'm like digging and digging, and at some point I decide I need the square head shovel instead of the pointed head shovel.
Oh
And so
no.
I come around to the garage and I go to walk back, and my
Oh,
husband
this
pulls
is
into
when
the
you
driveway.
this is when you got caught. This is when you got your ass caught.
I got caught, and he literally pulls into the driveway. He just opens his door a little bit and goes, "Oh no." And he goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I didn't want to paint, so I did something else." And he's like, "What are you doing?"
So he
Digging
hasn't
up.
seen it yet. He could just see you with the
No.
shovel.
Yeah, walking around in my boots, like still in my Pilates outfit from that morning. Like still
Well,
my
because yeah, naturally, there's once you get a brain blast, there's no time
Yeah.
to change your outfit.
Like I'm on a path, man. I'm on a path. I still got my black Lululemon leggings on and some rain boots, and I'm going with my shovel. So this poor man, he gets out of the car and he's like, "I brought you coffee." So he had gotten me coffee after his
Oh
appointment.
no, he
and
was
then
so nice.
I know, and he pulls in the driveway and sees me doing some feral ass shit in the backyard. And so he very politely, he's such a sweet man, such a sweet
He's such
man.
a sweet man. Sweet
He
man.
goes upstairs, he puts his tennis shoes on. You know, I'm just vibing. I'm like, I'll just do it by myself. It's fine. And he comes outside, grabs a shovel, and within 2 hours, we got that motherfucker out of the ground. Got it broken down.
Wasn't it cemented down like 4 feet or something?
Yeah, I mean
crazy?
these suckers have 4-foot concrete things, and we're out there, and I'm like pulling, we get it like tilted. I'm pulling on the pull-up bar, and he's kicking the thing. I mean, our neighbors have to think we're absolute banana nut people.
Whoever put that ugly ass thing are the banana nut people.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was so ugly, and that's where the thing's going. So now there are 2 holes that we filled in, so we've got to get back there and do some more like xeriscaping and stuff. But I was shocked it only took us 2 or 3 hours to get out. I thought that was going to be like a 2-week project, so I'm pleased with it. Yeah, I got caught in the middle of what I was doing. So I don't know that any feral shit happened to me, or at least nothing I'm going to talk about on the internet.
The most feral thing that you did this week.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So what was the most feral thing that happened to you this week?
You know, there's been a lot of feral shit that happened to me this week, but the one I feel comfortable talking to the public about is me and my husband finished off pretty much a whole birthday cake within 3 days. And yesterday I was having just an exceptionally ragey day. I called you yesterday morning and you were like, "How are you?" And I was like, "I could punch a wall. How are you?" And you were like, "Oh." And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." And so yesterday I went to the gym, worked off some of my bad attitude. And I decided, since this is a birthday cake that Debbie made me, my mom, she's been making me birthday cakes every year. She crushes it. And even when I had to go gluten free, crushes it. There was maybe a little bit left. I sat there after I'd worked out, done such a good thing for my body. I took a fork, didn't even cut it, and I just started fucking eating it.
Yeah.
And right out of the thing. And then my husband was nice enough to not touch it. And then I finished it off yesterday afternoon with a fork, just directly off the doily on the cake plate. I was just like, fuck it. Like, I did not care one iota.
Yeah.
I just need birthday cake. It's my birthday cake, and I'll eat it with a fork like a feral raccoon if I want to.
I think some people would classify that as being feral. I personally find it iconic.
That's good, because I didn't give a fuck so much while it was happening that I didn't even think twice about it. You know, like sometimes you stop and you're like, oh. I didn't even stop. I just was like, I was like, this is correct. without thinking twice about it. But that's the feral I'm willing to share. How's that?
I like it. Yeah, I think, yeah, feral raccoon. Feral raccoon vibes.
Feral
Love
raccoon
it.
with a birthday cake.
I love
So
it.
alarming. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week. We really, really appreciate you being here. This is super fun. We're looking forward to doing it with you guys every week until middle of May. So we hope you come back next week. Give us a rating, give us a comment, give us a DM, smoke signal, carrier pigeon, whatever suits your fancy. And we'll talk next week.